For the longest time, games have relied on cutscenes to tell their narratives. By pulling from cinema's long-established storytelling toolkit, cutscenes are able to use cinematography, editing, and dialogue no different than a film to communicate narrative to an audience. It is for this reason that cutscenes are, and always will be, the most disconnected part of their respective games. Cutscenes don't use the gaming medium to tell a story. They simply borrow from an established medium that has done what they're attempting better thousands of times over. Developers like Valve and Irrational Games deserve recognition for telling some of the best stories in gaming without the use of cutscenes. It's no surprise their games' worlds feel so alive since they never take you out of the perspective of your character. Unfortunately, this is the exception and not the rule. I want to discuss 3 games that I feel have begun to meaningfully develop gaming's storytelling language: The Last of Us, Journey, and Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. All 3 of these games have cutscenes, and I'd argue the cutscenes are the weakest portions of every single one of them. This statement might cause the biggest uproar with fans of the first game. In fact, The Last of Us has some of the best executed cutscenes of all time. The writing, performances, and animation are all some of the best in gaming. They even match graphically to the gameplay, so that typical disconnect is practically non-existent. However, this doesn't negate the fact that they're relying on the crutch of another medium's language, and are nowhere near as interesting as the moments where The Last of Us does allow gaming to express its story instead. Watching this moment...
Now, Ellie, that ain't for kids.
Whoa! How the hell would he even walk around with that thing?
Get rid of that.
What, hold your horse.
Has a much different effect than playing this one.
I don't see anyone. Let's go. Joel? How we doing?
I'm fine.
Can you handle the window?
Yeah.
Both moments illustrate Joel's trust in Ellie's maturity at different points in the game. However, in the first, we are experiencing this scene no different than we would a movie, merely watching characters interact. In the second, the player remains in control. Because of this, Joel's experience becomes the player's experience. There's an intimacy here that doesn't exist in cutscenes. By eliminating the presence of a third-party spectator, Ellie's dialogue feels more personal and direct. The player is very much living the scene. For this reason, I think this is the crowning moment of The Last of Us.
I won't let you take her. This is our future. Think of all the lives we'll save. Don't come any closer. I mean it.
No!
People often criticize this sequence for not giving them a choice to spare the doctor and not save Ellie. If there's only one outcome, why not present this moment in a cutscene? I'm going to argue that these people are missing the point entirely. Here we encounter a game forcing us to do something we don't want to do, but something that our character would do. In this moment, despite everything we desire, we are not ourselves. We are Joel, pushed to the same point of love and desperation, and unless you turn off the game and never play it again, the blood is on your hands no different than his. I can't imagine a more immersive way to make us understand a character's situation and motivations than making us forgo our own wishes in order to enact theirs. If The Last of Us communicates character motivation through gaming storytelling language, then Journey communicates theme. Journey, put simply, is about the emotional arc of life, from birth to death. Journey's most interesting game mechanic is its seamless online co-op. Throughout the game, the player will be matched with other players who are at the same moment of the journey. The other players have no name and no voice. Your only form of communication is harmonic chirps and movement. With the understanding of the game's extended metaphor of life, this seamless co-op becomes akin to those who come into and exit one's life. Much like many great films will often be just as much about what isn't shown, Journey should be looked at for what common mechanics are withheld. The choice to have these online co-op partners be nameless, as well as having voice chat disabled, allows them to exist as complete equals to the player. Things like age, race, and gender are thrown out the window in order to better communicate the essence of the human existence. All of this illustrated by a game with no words, and none of this by the game's cutscenes, which frankly are unnecessary lulls in an otherwise flawless journey. The game Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons tells the story of two brothers on a quest to retrieve medicine to save their sick father. Much like Journey, the game does away with dialogue in favor of gibberish, distilling the story down to its most basic parts. However, the most prominent storytelling device in the game is its control scheme. The player controls both brothers at once with one controller, the older brother with the left side and the younger brother with the right. Throughout the game, the mechanic is constantly reinvented. Oftentimes, the brothers are both needed to progress, but the game allows for moments where each brother is more crucial to a certain task. Therefore, the mechanic acts as a pretty obvious metaphor for the brothers' inseparable bond. However, it's what the game does at the very end that pushes into narrative bliss. In the final chapter, the older brother dies. I challenge you to find me one player that didn't try to use the left side of the controller in this moment, only to realize it no longer did anything. After a 2-hour adventure getting used to this bizarre control scheme, the shift to a normal one is abrupt, and the absence is palpable. Throughout the game, the older brother can help the little brother swim, boost him up high ledges, and pulls heavy levers. Upon returning home alone, the younger brother must traverse the same area the older brother helped him through at the start of the game. In this moment, the right side of the controller does not work. Only when the player tries the left side of the controller are these obstacles overcome. Through this simple control switch, we understand how the older brother has impacted the younger brother, and for the first time we get the feeling the younger brother can make it on his own. The desperation that comes with love, the universal experience of life that we share, and the growth that comes with loss. These are not simple ideas to communicate in any medium. These games are testament to the fact that not only can gaming do it, but it can do it without the help of movies in a personal, direct way that's totally unique. Movies are better at being movies than you. It's time to cut the cutscenes and be willing to try something new.